All right, it's going to give a few minutes for people to pop on. All right, gonna get rocking here. Hello. It's Coach Jerry here with Biohacking Truth, and today I am going to talk about career pivot. It's pretty much the ultimate transformation, quite honestly, and I only say that because in my work and in my personal life, the career the career environment, is typically the root cause of people's issues. Like, quite honestly, it doesn't serve their purpose, it doesn't match their core values, and it drains energy out of them as opposed to energizing them. And the result of that is not enough energy to take care of themselves. And a big picture, if they're sacrificing core values of theirs for 30, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, at what point do you start caring about your core values? And what do I mean by that is like I said, if you're giving that much away for that often, and then all of a sudden you're going to worry about taking time to exercise or to eat right, and it just becomes futile in a lot of people's minds. So I see over and over and over again, and it's the one thing that people aren't willing to broach. It's the one thing that they're not willing to address, and because it is really a big upheaval in people's lives. So I'm definitely not here to recommend that people just go and just uproot their career if it's not causing a problem for them. But if you are someone who is in a situation where you're looking at a pivot, or something you've been thinking about and you're not sure where you stand with it, you might be interested in what I'm going to talk about today. So what I'm going to start off with is just my pivot story, my personal pivot story. Some of you understand it or have heard it and know it, but others haven't. This by no means makes me an expert on the topic, but as far as I'm concerned, experts and specialists, while they serve a very important role in our life, I think we overemphasize their importance. And when you get down to it, an expert or a specialist is really someone who spends the majority of their time learning more and more about something until they know less and less about everything. Um, so that being said, definitely not an expert on this topic, but I've dealt with it a lot, particularly lately. And I apologize for being late, but on that note, it was ironic. I was doing a new potential new prospect consultation, and that's really what we got into was pivoting, like big time. And it wasn't just about pivoting, perspective in their current career situation. It was about, sorry about that TV. We're talking about pivoting out of relationship environments, friendship environments, um, sponsorship environments. She gets sponsored by certain companies to tout their products. So there's a whole lot of pivoting that might go on for this individual. So that being said, I'm here, but my particular pivot story. So a little backstory. As a lot of you know, I grew up very unhealthy. Had a really poor relationship with myself and, just about everyone else around me. And grew to a really unhealthy state. So I ended up, taking really the first job that came along when I was out of high school, which was at a grocery store. Ended up bagging groceries, and before I know it, within a year I was into management, and that was really the seed, the seed of my demise. Not really, but I'm joking around, but really the seed of how I got, the ladder hung on the wrong wall. So, you can imagine being a kid that was insecure, really in a situation where my safety, security, sense of self, ability to create and visualize what was right for me, all of that was compromised. So I was just like arrested in my development. And so you take this person who like can't go to college, can't, doesn't really have any known skills. Like one of my skills at that time was I could take a really big bong hit. Like that was about the extent of it. And you get a job where you don't need education, bagging groceries, and you give that person a little notoriety, a little pat on the back, a promotion, a little bit of a raise, and you've got them. And that's what it was for me. So 2 decades later, I was hanging my ladder on the wrong wall. So got into retail management, like I said, managing a store for about 15 years and making really good money, great retirement, wonderful wife, beautiful family, the house, the dogs, the cars, the whole 9 yards. Like for all intents and purposes, there's nothing wrong. But it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I'm a leader. I'm a challenger. If any of you are familiar with personality types, particularly the Enneagram scale, on the Enneagram scale, I'm a type 8 with a 7 wing. So that's known as the Maverick. And when you're in a business that needs yes men, a Maverick is not going to be your best option. And on that note, like I said, I'm a leader. I'm the type that advocates for people. I'm the type that questions things, and I'm questioning things not to make people feel stupid. I'm questioning things because if we don't ask the question and we don't get down to the truth of the matter, then the whole team suffers. So that's where I came at it from. But unfortunately, I was dealing with a bunch of people that didn't have big picture thoughts and about success and team environment. So they were real resistant to my personality. They were real resistant to the Maverick. So I was in the wrong place. It wasn't for me, never was. It doesn't mean retail management is a bad career. It just, for a guy like me, it was horrible. And maybe it was because of the company I was working for as well. They weren't very much visionary. They weren't very much thinking big picture. It was all about just kind of putting fires out. So a guy like me, this is terrible, terrible. So I made the decision after, the universe put the truth about health in front of me, and I was able to just eliminate those issues that had been bothering me: anxiety, depression, arthritis, GERD, autoimmunity. The list just goes on. Insomnia. It just goes on and on and on. PTSD. And I was able to really, you're always healing, but really get to those things on the reverse trajectory within a matter of a year or two. It was mind blowing. I mean, I've been to doctors, therapists, counselors, like everything, like been to the whole 9 yards, and no improvement ever. So that's why I decided to pivot. And it was, I had a 5-year plan. It was like, I'm gonna start this. I'm gonna study at the Czech Institute, and I'm going to, work on clients as much as I can, and really learn my craft, and then I'll launch. And my timeline got cut short by a couple years, and so here I am. And one thing that people don't really understand, and maybe that's why I've had the success I've had with being able to get my programs from my head into a client's head and have them able to conceptualize it and put it in play is because of my story, because of where I came from. I don't tell people to do things or give them hypotheticals about things. They're not hypotheticals. They're like, this is what happens, and this is how we do it. So been able to have a great amount of success with that, because we have a good way of dismantling situations for what they really are. And that's what it really takes. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to dismantle the situation and figure out what it really is. And to do that, there are just kind of a few things that you really need to understand if you're considering a pivot. And what those are, hold on one sec here. Yeah, my apologies. I had this on my notes and I accidentally clicked on it and marked it as done. So yeah, to be able to dismantle like your situation and be able to really decide if a pivot is something that you want to do, right? If a pivot is worth it, because it is work. It is work. And it can be painful. And there can be a lot of doubts. But what is really painful, like nothing is more painful ever than never trying. If you really know that something else out there is for you, and you're in a situation that is 100% absolutely without a doubt not for you, you got to ask yourself, why am I staying? Why am I staying? And then your answers, you've got to, this is where the dismantling part comes in. Whatever your answer to that question is, you have to follow it up with, is that true? And if you're undeniably, unequivocally, yes, it is true, then you've got to ask another follow-up question, which is, could the opposite be true? Okay, so for example, the most obvious answer most people have is, I need this job. Okay, is that true? Yes. Awesome. So what's the opposite of that? I don't need this job. Could that be true? Right? Well, if the answer is no, that couldn't possibly be true. All right, well, let's find what else could be true, right? So we've got, what's my perspective on this? Is that true? What else could be true? So what else could be true would be, I need a job that pays something similar to this and has a similar vacation schedule, similar benefits, ... fill in the blanks. So as we get breaking this down, you might find that your answers are what we call the lipstick, tits, and ass of the job. And I just say that because, well, it's impactful. You'll remember it, I hope. But what do I mean by that, right? Just like if someone's in a relationship that doesn't suit them, but the sex is great, or this person matches the image that I want to take out on the town, right? So if you're just staying with somebody because of the lipstick, tits, and ass, is that the only lipstick, tits, and ass you can find? And like I said, I apologize for the rudimentary explanation, but it's meant to be impactful and something that you'll understand. It's not meant to be degrading or objectifying women or people at all. It's not what it is. It's just a metaphor. So if you're staying at a job for the lipstick, tits, and ass, the benefits, the pay, the vacation, you can see how they lure you in and they keep you there with that, right? Because like if you got 6 weeks vacation at your job, how long did you have to work to get that? Right? If you're making $100,000 a year at your job, how long did it take you to get there? Like what education did you need? What training did you need? Okay. These are all questions you have to ask. So this particular job, what is it about it I don't like? That's another question. And is this something that has to do with me, or does this have to do with the actual job? Someone at the job, maybe it's the boss, the owner, coworkers, whatever the case may be. All right. So we've got ask the question, do you need this job, right? Ask this question, what don't you like about the job? And you play this game with, is that true? You play that with everything. It's called the is that true game. So is that true? And if the answer is yes, well, could the opposite be true, right? And then you just go down that roll of possibilities. Now, if the opposite's not true, well, what else could be true? And if you can't think of anything else, then you've got to just be brave and say, what if I could leave this job and be fine? What if I could take my total passion and purpose and marry them together? Because maybe right now you're just too exhausted to spend much time doing what you love. Maybe you love art. Maybe you love woodworking. Maybe you love playing golf. Good luck making money with that. But, whatever it is, like, how much time are you actually spending doing it? And what's taking you away from it? Work? Being exhausted from work? Being mentally thrashed? Maybe you're nihilistic, right? Maybe it's just like, well, whatever. What's the point? Just like the people who think that they need to lose 20 pounds to feel better about themselves. Just like the people who would like to bench press 300 pounds again, like they did in high school, to feel better about themselves. They're operating under illusion, right? And if you are in a situation like that, like, be brave and figure out what it really is. So if you need to do a career pivot, or you really think you need to do a career pivot, practice that game of just asking, is that true? And then the next question is, what else could be true? And then the next step is, what if? Is that true? What else could be true? Or is that true? Could the opposite be true? What else is true? And then what if? Just those 4 little steps for anything. Powerful. Think of it as calling bullshit. Just calling bullshit on the situation or yourself. Okay. Now, if you find out that it's like, no matter where I go, I'm going to have these issues, because I always have, right? Well, then there's a little self-work needs to be done there, right? Why do I have such high expectations of others? Or why is my conditions for acceptance and love, why are the margins so slim? An example is a gal that I'm working with, and she was in an office environment that was really toxic. It was really toxic. But the thing is, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was probably, like, in reality, maybe a 7 or an 8. But for her, it was like a 10 or 11. Okay. And the reason why it was a 10 or 11 is because the conditions she placed on her happiness. And what I mean by that is like, she's happy to do a good job and she's just fine, but she wants someone to appreciate her. Well, we all want that, right? But more to the point, appreciate it in a certain way. And also there was this dynamic of not taking care of our own self at the workplace. And, if you're working at a place that has, like, in this case, she had unlimited PTO. If you have unlimited PTO, but you're the type to never take PTO and nobody appreciates it, right? It's like, yeah, that sucks. They don't appreciate that you never take PTO, but you're the one not taking the PTO. So that's what I meant by that little dynamic. So first thing, you got to be able to understand how to dismantle that. So it's that 4-step exercise that I mentioned earlier. Next is, you got to have a rock solid purpose. Okay. So you got to really understand, like, and this just goes for anything in life. Why am I doing what I'm doing? And I made a post earlier today, and this is where the rubber meets the road in a lot of instances. And the post was, some of the effect of, when considering your big why, that must go through your values and not what you want. Something to that effect. I don't remember what I said. But we hear a lot about what's your why, what's your big why are you doing this, what's your reason for doing this? And quite honestly, like, a lot of times people just go to what they want. What do I want in life, right? But it's like, what do you value? What do you value in life? Because by getting in touch with what you value in life, that's going to get you in touch with what's being violated. Once you're in touch with what's being violated, then you understand why you need to leave that place, right? So for me, anecdotally, I was always feeling violated, like, early in life, like everything was a violation. Well, I had a little PTSD. So it was like, everything was a threat to me. So of course, everything was a violation. If I just met you and I didn't know you, I'm going to have one eye open and be like, okay, how's this person a threat to me? What are they going to do? How are they going to let me down? How are they going to abandon me? So we got to get in touch with our own self, like our own needs, our own conditions for acceptance. Okay. And the more unconditionally you are with your acceptance and your love, the better off you're going to be. That doesn't mean get ran over like a doormat. It just means be discerning and be wise and be tuned into yourself. That's what that means. So have a rock solid purpose, non-negotiable core values. Like, what is it that you value? If you value integrity, but you work in an office where people clock each other in and clock each other out, and people show up, a half hour late and leave 15 minutes early. People tend to blame things on other people, or they take credit for other people's work. That is a huge violation of your integrity core value, right? Now we can sit there and wish that everybody would change so that I don't have to make a big decision and leave this work environment. Or you can have integrity for your core values and change your environment. Full understanding of the fulfillment level of your needs, right? That's where fulfillment comes from. Like, succinctly speaking, what is fulfillment? Well, it's like, how well are your needs being met? How well are your core values being honored or violated? That's fulfillment. People get a lot of confusion about that word. What does fulfillment mean? That's what it means. So if you're not in touch with what your needs actually are, your propensity to over or under express certain needs is going to be very high. It'll be 100%, because even being fully in touch with it, you do it. So an example would be like Johnny CrossFit, right? It's not a real person, but Johnny CrossFit. We all know Johnny CrossFitter, right? Like, lives at the gym 4 hours a day. And my wife will tell you I'm at the gym 4 hours a day, but at my age, it's because I'm foam rolling, stretching, prepping, cooling down, maybe bullshitting in the gym a little bit. So if I'm there for 4 hours, I'm working out for like an hour. But we all know that person, right? And that person might have a good physique, right? But if you get down to it, that person's probably, drinking 4, 5, 6 servings of caffeine a day. I love my caffeine. I allow myself 2 servings of caffeine a day, and they're pretty good servings, but I don't lose sleep. Maybe Johnny CrossFitter doesn't have much of a relationship because he's not interested in dating somebody that doesn't want to be at the gym for 4 hours a day with him and doing exactly what he does and the way he does it. Maybe Johnny is in a really terrible job because Johnny cares about earning more than he cares about fulfillment. All right. So we can look at Johnny CrossFitter, and on the outside, Johnny looks like he's got it all together. Maybe he's got a bubbly personality and he keeps everybody entertained at the CrossFit box, and he keeps people coming in. He's bringing buddies in and all that. So everybody thinks Johnny's got everything figured out, but maybe Johnny's miserable because Johnny's overexpressing his need for fitness and health. All right. In health, not and health. Fitness in his health. He's overexpressing that. Well, what's he underexpressing? Well, we talked about he might be underexpressing his sleep. Maybe he's consuming too much caffeine. He's underexpressing his relationship needs. He's underexpressing his need to be a valuable part of a relationship for somebody else, because that nurtures us as well, right? He might be underexpressing his need to connect to nature and detach from technology, especially if Johnny's got a big Instagram account. Okay, so that's just an example. What is your level of fulfillment in your needs? What are you overexpressing? What are you underexpressing? And what is your level of awareness, attunement, and discernment to that particular aspect of your life? And all this ties into your employment situation, because that is the big shadow in most people's lives. How many people do you know that are happy with their job? Well, if you know me, you know one, at least, right? How many people do you know that are absolutely miserable and looking for somewhere else? They're looking anywhere but there for the source of their misery, okay? And so they try to compensate. They do things. They go on vacation. Maybe they drink alcohol. Maybe they're doing other drugs. Maybe they've got some side action apart from their marriage, something like that, right? You can imagine the troubles that this stuff causes when we don't want to look at what's actually violating our values and draining the fulfillment in our needs. So we've got the 4-step system to dismantle your belief, right? And we've also got the awareness that we need to have rock solid core values and a rock solid purpose. We need a full understanding of our level of fulfillment in our needs. And then next, we need a roadmap. So how do we take like what it is that we want to be in life, how we want to experience life, right? Do you want to go fishing 2 days a week? Do you want to play golf every day after work, but you can't because of your work schedule? Or maybe you can, but that takes away from family time. That was me, right? And I only needed to play golf so much because I could drink a 6-pack of beer on the golf course and then go home and drink 3 or 4 beers. And my wife didn't know how many beers I had, even though she did, because she's smarter than me. But as soon as I got into a situation where it's like I'm fulfilled in my career, because my career and my life really are just intertwined, like there is no breakaway. And I didn't need to golf so much. Of course, drinking doesn't happen anymore. So that's just an example. But how do you take all that and apply it? How do you take all that and like discern if my employment situation is right for me or not? Right? Well, you've got to have a roadmap. You've got to have a roadmap that points right to your purpose, where you want to be. And that road, on that road, like written on the road, is everything you need to do to get there. Right? So on that road, your road might look like start job search, build resume, find a new skill, or take an existing skill I have and find a way to monetize it. So that'd be like step one in the road. And at no time are you jeopardizing your current employment situation. Don't do what I did and tell everybody what you're doing, right? Because I was operating under the assumption that hey, as long as I tell you when I'm leaving and I'm completely forthright with everything I'm doing, like you guys shouldn't have a problem with it. That wasn't the case at all, obviously. But you need to start that step, right? So that might be the first step on your road, right? And then next would be maybe further education, or if you're going to be working in a service industry or some sort of guidance coach or something like that, getting some clients, maybe learn how to market, learn how to brand, right? Learn how to get your name out there, learn how to niche yourself, find your target market, that type of stuff. Like you can do all this stuff before you launch. But this is the stuff that scares the shit out of people. And it's why they don't launch. They just, I'm miserable. I start thinking about it. It's too much work. I'm not going to do it. Okay. So you got to have all those things in place, and then you've got to have that road. So on that road, those are the next steps you're going to take, right? And it's going right towards your purpose, right towards where you want to be in life, right? And what are your guides? What are your road signs, so to speak? Those are your core values. Those are things you will not let violate you, right? And so long as the road that you're on matches the signs alongside the road, you're going towards that purpose. But as soon as one of those don't match, either what's written on the road that you're on or the signs on the side of the road that you're driving on or traveling on, when those don't jive, you're not going towards your purpose anymore. You're not going toward your ultimate state of fulfillment. And a lot of people say, well, you got to be ultimately fulfilled. Or nobody's perfect. Yeah, you're right. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. But if you've got a passion, a skill set, right, and an ability to do something that could be monetized, but you don't take time to do it because you don't have the energy because you're working at a job you fucking hate. On what planet is that functional? Who on God's green earth really thinks that that's the purpose of man? And at what point are you not a slave or a prostitute? Right? In the archetypal world, you've got the survival archetypes, right? And survival archetypes are never thriving. That's why they're called survival archetypes. But you've got, what is it? You got the child, you got the victim, you got the saboteur, and you got the prostitute. How many people do you know that are living in all those? Just by staying at a job that sucks. If with a little bit of creativity and a little bit of work, you can match that income, you can match that benefits package. It would take some time. But what point are you not the saboteur? Right? And if you're blaming someone else for your poor mood or your poor me situation, if you're blaming someone else, at what point are you not the child? Right? And if you're doing something for money that you hate, at what point are you not the prostitute? And if you're doing all that and you're complaining that someone else is doing that to you, at what point are you not the victim? So we just hit all four of those. We want to snap out of that survival zone. We want to snap out of that survival archetype, right? Because we're not here just to survive. Learning how to survive and what's safe, that's like the first 10 years of life, right? Don't touch that, it's hot, right? Don't stick a paper clip in the light plug, it'll shock you. Don't pet dogs that growl. That's what that shit is, right? But we got people, well, most of us, right, in those states. And this isn't meant to judge or demean anybody's situation, right? You might be in a situation where you just are stuck for the foreseeable future, or maybe you're just totally fine with where you're at, and that's cool too. There's nothing, but I'm talking to the people that aren't. If it doesn't pertain to you, it doesn't pertain to you. But if it does, it does. Listen, because it can happen. You're telling yourself something that isn't true. You're selling yourself an illusion about a situation that makes it okay for you to stay there. That's all you're doing. That's the saboteur. Okay. If this speaks to you, if this resonates with you, listen. Um, so besides that, it's very important. Whatever you determine to be like your next step. If it's just changing jobs, that's pretty easy. But like if you're going to actually change careers, change industries, maybe go from an executive to an entrepreneur, or just an employee to an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, something like that. Like you've got to get a side hustle. One, like don't wait until you quit to get your shit going. Just get a side hustle, and that could be like think lemonade stand. Don't think like the next Walmart. Like think lemonade stand. Like I just want a lemonade stand that can pay the bills. Like start there, and that's how you build a side hustle. Build a side hustle that's a lemonade stand. Okay. If you have to work with people for free at the start, do it. But really get something. Just get it started. I like to make things a thing. My clients that you've worked with, a lot of them will tell you it's just like I'll say something like, let's just make it a thing. You said it out loud. It's a thing now. Cool. Now write it down. Now it's a double thing. Right? Making it a thing, speaking it into existence, manifesting it. Okay. Get that out there, and then whatever it is that you're interested in or that you're going to pursue next, stay immersed in it. Stay immersed in it. It might be your part-time job, it might be your part-time hustle, but stay immersed in it. Don't give your current employer, the one that you want to leave, that's violating your values and your needs, and ultimately your purpose and your health, violating all that. Don't give them one bit extra. They need you to stay, don't. They need you to go out of town for something, don't. Within all possibilities, stop giving to those that only take, because for every ounce of energy you give to that employer, there's a certain amount you're responsible for and you're compensated for. There's a certain amount, but 100% true. I mean, I was in management. Like I freaking know if an employee will allow you to take advantage of them, they will get taken advantage of. Not by me, but someone will. Do not give them anything. Every ounce you give them is an ounce or a pound that you're not giving to your own thing. Okay. And you need all the energy you can get when you got a side hustle. Stay immersed in it. Stay passionate about it. That'll keep it top of mind. Keep it top of mind, and you'll get more reps just by thinking about it. So stay immersed in it. Don't give anything to your main hustle that you don't have to. Talk about what you're doing with people. All right. That makes it real. And watch the words you use. Words are powerful. So when you're talking about your new pursuit or your new vision, none of this, I would like to, or I hope that I can. No, it's like, I am. I will. I will not, ... I'm no longer putting up with ... Put a date on it. I'll be done. I'll be done in a year. I'll remember the very last time. So Christmas Day, part of my job as a store manager, Christmas Day, I got to go to the store 4 or 5 times to check up on the store. Because heaven forbid, a freezer goes down and we lose a bunch of product. So instead, have the manager come down several times and check on the store. It's always been a thing, whatever. We were compensated well. But I remember, I'll never forget, I had no plans. Like I said, this is 3 years into my 5-year plan, and I was there on Christmas. And it was like my 4th or 5th visit that day, walking around. And I was walking down the stairs after I was doing my back room check, and I just said out loud, this is the last Christmas I'm going to be here. And it was. Within like 10 months, I was gone. I was out of there. Okay. So you speak things into existence. Yeah. So that's basically the main thing I want to share with you guys, the 4 ways to dismantle that. Again, to review, ask yourself, whatever is stopping you from taking major action, ask yourself, is that true? Then ask yourself, could the opposite be true? Then ask yourself, well, what else is true if the opposite isn't? What else is true? And then what if? What if this just works? What would that look like? How would that feel? How would every day be different? Because if you know, but if you don't, you don't. And if you've never been in a career that's completely fulfilling, it doesn't drain you one bit of energy. It actually adds energy to your day and your life. I work 7 days a week, I do something 7 days a week. And I love it. Absolutely love it. So we've got that 4 steps to dismantle, getting your rock solid purpose, filtered through the lens of what you value, not what you want. Those non-negotiable core values, the things that nobody can step on, nobody can move out of your way, for which you will live by, and a full understanding of the fulfillment of your needs, and a clearly defined roadmap. That's where it starts. Just start putting the pencil to the paper, start ideating on this. Just get it going. The more attention you give it, the more love you give it, the more life you give it. And just like anything that has life, the more you nurture it, it's going to keep growing and getting stronger and wiser. So what you water, what you nurture grows, and what you neglect dies. So if you plant this seed, then all you got to do is keep watering it. You can do this. You can do this. There's really, if anyone's done it, then you can do it. It's possible. And I'll tell you, I was scared shitless because I got terminated from my job. And it was, we're not going to go into that, but it was, complete bullshit, as you might imagine. Like, that being said, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Like, I was scared shitless for a while, and I couldn't imagine still working there now. I couldn't imagine. With all the tools I have in place for awareness and putting things in perspective and finding out the actual truth about a situation, weaving through the weeds of narrative that I place on it, the story I tell about it, right? That story's tied into my past experience, which is tied into my past trauma, which is tied into my perceived threats, which is tied into my personality, which is tied into, what I'm going to protect and what I'm going to resist and what I'm going to share, like all of that, like having all those skills. I thought I was tolerating it, but now I know what it feels like to actually be in a job that fulfills you and matches why you were put on this planet. I just want to share this with everybody. So a pivot is the ultimate transformation. When you make that pivot, if you make that pivot, or even if you plant the seed to get that pivot going, right? Because once you put it on paper and you commit to doing something, you're already doing it. That's the beauty of it. You're doing it, right? Just because you haven't taken the steps to leave and get yourself established in the new situation, you're still doing it. So just taking that action is going to relieve a lot of subconscious stress, I promise you. Okay. So we've got all that. And just, I'll leave you with this again, is like, no matter what you're scared of, no matter what the fear is. Obviously I forgot to add in, like, obviously your whole family's got to be on board with everything, right? And keep communicating with them as far as what the plan is, what it looks like, and why you're doing it. But no matter what your fear is, no matter what's holding you back, no matter how legitimate it is, could it possibly be any worse than staying in a situation you hate? And staying in that situation you hate for decades, and this whole time, you're gonna see people that do the opposite of what you did. So you stay in that shitty situation that you hate without making an attempt to make it better, just expecting everyone else around you to change, staying in that, either the child, the victim, the prostitute, or the saboteur archetype. And as you do that, you're going to watch people who do the opposite of you, and you're going to watch them survive. And then they're going to thrive. And then they're going to be happy. Ask yourself, can you do this for another 1, 2, 3 decades? And then after you retire, how much are you going to have left? Like, I'm talking money. How much are you going to have left? What's going to be in here? Will you even care anymore? Those things that you were saving for retirement, are you still going to care? Is traveling going to be that attractive to you? How much traveling can you do? How many medications are you on? How many doctor appointments do you have every week? How many therapists are you seeing? Because maybe you choose to eat your problems, drink your problems away, binge watch Netflix your problems away, because you won't look at that one thing that's violating all your purposes. So 1, 2, 3 more decades of that. And then eventually it happens to all of us. You're on your deathbed. And hopefully it's a really long time away. But you've gone through that, not taking the action. You see someone else take the action. They survive and then thrive, and then they're happy. And here you are still in this situation. Are you going to, like, what is it going to be like being in that situation? And you got to go there. Because the number one regret that people have on their deathbed is that they didn't take more risks or experience more. No one ever on their deathbed ever says, right? In fact, check me on this. I'm sure someone somewhere said it. But like, let's be real. Like, who on their deathbed says, I really wish I would have just like trusted my potential less, or man, I wish I didn't just like pursue like, you know, things that really matched my purpose and my core values and really aligned with me in mind, body, and soul. I wish I wouldn't have done that so much. I missed out on so much work. No. So anyway, this isn't for everybody, but for somebody, it is for. And if that's you, you're why I did this. You're why I did this. Because I know what it's like. I know what it's like. You can't get those years back. You can't get those years back. I used to, every day on my morning tour around the store, I'd walk around and it'd be like, if you don't do something, this is going to be your life in 5 years, then 10, then 15. And then someday you'll retire and they'll throw you some little shitty retirement party at some dive restaurant, at 9 o'clock at night, and there'll be 10 people there. And they'll say, thanks for the service. They'll give you a plaque and like, a Visa gift card. And that'll be it. You can go start spending your retirement. So I couldn't get that out of my head. And just fortunately enough, I found something that matched my life story, matched my passion in life, and matched a great need in the world. And I'm sure if you look deep enough, you've got something in there too that matches all that. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you for tuning in. If anybody's got any questions, I just got a new streaming app, as you might see. So I've used it before. I don't know that I can see questions on here. My bad. Comments. Okay. Looks like I don't see any comments or questions. Brandon. Yeah, thanks for the thumbs up, brother. All right. So it looks like we're all square. All right. I hope you guys found value in it. I hope somebody finds value in this. Maybe you'll watch it later, find some value. But if you're considering a career pivot, like, please reach out if you don't know how to do it. Please do not die not knowing what if. All right. Thank you guys. Again, I'm always here for you. My DMs are always open. My ultimate mission in life is to give people their optimal state of fulfillment through purpose. And, for some people, what's stopping that is pain in the body. For others, it's excess weight. And for others, it's just feeling lost, not knowing what's next. Like, what's missing? I don't know. I should have everything. And I really think that's not to be a specialist, but I think that's where I specialize. So, all right, peace, much love, and live well. Take care.